Abusua ye mama kwa basonko so de bagana politics avenue so abusua moma ye mbunra ye nsemu mi nkotie nsem a ewo abusua eye Buffer Stock CEO former Buffer Stock CEO a ye chain wo Kotoka International Airport because of say nanka odwane every Ghana ha wasan so na account a eye government in freezy a wo try say or draw sika every mu de adwane every Ghana ha ama sisi a wakodi eye yokofo nsem no abusua ɛyɛ attorney general ɛyɛ current attorney general ɛyɛ shrimp sai ɛyɛ investigation ehun sɛ ɛyɛ that medical ɛyɛ test anaasɛ deɛ nti a ɛyɛ Buffer Stock CEO ɔsɛ ɔkɔ abrokyi akɔsa ne ho yareɛ ɛyɛ yareɛ a yɛfrɛ no cold anaasɛ ɛyɛ kata no waka kyerɛ ɔmo sɛ daa yareɛ no deɛ yɛtumi sa no Ghana ase nti no ɔmo nkɔ ɛyɛ medical centers anaasɛ ɛwɔ Ghana ase no ɔnkɔ no nkɔsa ne ho yareɛ daa yareɛ no yɛmfa nkɔ abrokyi ɛna ɔsan so ɛkaa sɛ ɛyɛ adeɛ a ɔtry sɛ ɔredraw ɛyɛ sika dodoɔ ɛfiri n'account no mu nyinaa na sɛ ne freezing account no mu nyinaa no nti asɛm a ɛyɛ ne lawyer ɛka sɛ ɔntry sɛ ɔredraw account no ɛnyɛ nokorɛ na ɔtry sɛ ɔredraw sika no ɛfiri account no mu ɛna nsa aka nti no ɛyɛ attorney general aprovide some evidence bi a ɛkyerɛ sɛ ɛyɛ Buffer Stock CEO ɛyɛ Hanan Wahab na anka ɔredraw sika no ɛfiri ɛyɛ the freezing account no mu ɛde akyerɛ court no abusua mo yɛnkɔ tie nsɛm a ɛyɛ TV3 42 dwa ɛfa ɛyɛ Hanan Wahab yɛba yɛde aka bɛto ɔmo so.
Put out that Hanan Wahab had been picked up on Saturday for trying to travel out of the jurisdiction, trying to access his frozen bank account. His lawyer, I'm talking about the former Buffer Stock CEO's lawyer, Godfrey Yeboah, I mean the former Attorney General, did indicate that, look, I mean, if the account is frozen, then why are you saying he was trying to access the frozen account? Now, what we are getting to know, based on the Deputy Attorney General's account, is that there was an attempt by Wahab, Hanan, to access this frozen account using a document. In this document, I'm going to show you the details as per the Deputy Attorney General's account. The motion is set to be heard July 16. Hanan Abdul Wahab's lawyers are firing back, and we're going to run through the statement that they have put out as well. But this is what the Deputy Attorney General is seeking in this motion that has been filed, is citing alleged attempt to empty frozen bank accounts using misrepresented court order. Republic versus Hanan Abdul Wahab, Alodiba, and that's Faisal Seidu Wuni, High Court Accra. The motion filed earlier today by the Deputy Attorney General, they're seeking, or he's seeking one, to revoke the leave granted to Hanan on June 29 to travel to London for medical purposes. Two, is seeking a motion, that's the motion that's going to be heard on July 16. And these are the allegations captured in at least the documents that we have seen, that the multiple bank accounts linked to Hanan and associates were frozen under the High Court Orders 2025. This is when this matter began. The Attorney General alleges that after getting the travel leave on the said date of June 29 to travel to London, Hanan tried to withdraw all the funds from the frozen accounts that were frozen sometime in 2025. He also allegedly told Republic Bank the freezing orders had been discharged. And the Attorney General is saying that the document he presented was actually a ruling in an unrelated case about landed property, not bank accounts. And even that ruling didn't discharge anything. He actually just struck out his application. Essentially, what the Deputy Attorney General is making the point that Hanan presented documents regarding a landed property to the bank, allegedly, to Republic Bank, that it was that order that was giving him now the right to access the frozen account. And as a result, the bank grew suspicious. They refused the withdrawal order, and then they alerted the Attorney General's office and the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO. So this is what the Attorney General has presented to the courts, reason why he wants the revocation of Abdul Hanan Wahab's London travel leave. On the matter of the medical issue, reason why the court granted him leave. According to the Attorney General, Hanan's travel leave was granted for a London medical appointment. The AG says his own submitted medical reports show only allergic conjunctivitis. That's his allergies. That's catarrh. Catarrh, which is treatable locally with eye drops. Right? So they're now questioning the basis for that legal leave that was given for medical reasons. That whatever Abdul Hanan Wahab is suffering can be treated locally. And the London appointment cited was a booking with Boots Opticians, a retail pharmacy chain, not a specialist referral. So that's another matter as well that we've gotten to know. That he was just going to, according to the Attorney General's account, going to just get a pharmacy for that matter. He says the AG is also making the point that Hanan has since been rearrested, as we do know, apprehended as a safeguard. The Attorney General is arguing this conduct makes him a greater flight risk than when the leave was first granted because of these developments and the matter of he also attempting to access the frozen bank accounts. Well, his lawyers have not been silent on this account by the Attorney General. They have also issued a statement. And if you recall, Godfrey Yeboah-Adame had put to the Attorney General why he was making the point about Abdul Hanan seeking to access his bank account. Take a look at this interview we had with Godfrey Yeboah-Adame 2 days ago. I'll read that statement that they have put out as well to you, responding to these issues. Take a look.
We're not given the opportunity to see our clients at all. Indeed, we're told flatly that they don't allow lawyers to see their clients on weekends. And that's quite perplexing. I'm surprised. If a person is arrested, say on Friday night or Saturday, he will be in without access to counsel. I mean, that's the republic in which we live now. And indeed, he's been picked up for no reason. As far as someone said, he's just been banded off into custody for no reason whatsoever. He's been given the right to leave the country, to travel to the country for a few days by a court of competent jurisdiction. The Deputy Attorney General himself was in court and argued, and this colleague of mine argued that day. And if indeed he had any objection to the order granted, he only had to appeal, but he had to resort to this surreptitious means of preventing from traveling. I think that this is totally unwarranted and unnecessary.
Well, continue. Yeah,
so that's Godfrey Yeboah-Adame, lead counsel for Abdul Hanan Wahab. He's issued a statement as well, responding to the issue that the Attorney General put out. He says his client has not been shown any evidence of attempted withdrawal by IOCO or BNI regarding the bank account that was frozen. 2, he's challenging the Attorney General to produce a check, withdrawal note, or any proof of the alleged attempt to withdraw funds from the frozen accounts by Hanan in the Republic Bank account, for which they say the bank alerted IOCO and the Attorney General's office. They are insisting there is no valid order currently freezing the accounts, and saying the earlier freezing orders lapsed. 2, that they're making the call that the arrest of Hanan is totally unfair, an abuse of power, and a deliberate scheme to disobey the High Court's own order, asking that he, in fact, give him the leave to travel. And on the matter of the dispute of the bail, they're saying the Economic and Organized Crime Office is now demanding fresh bail conditions, 5 million Ghana cedis with 2 sureties. They're pointing out that their client is already on court-granted bail and has been reporting to IOCO fortnightly. But they're also making that the calls, the new conditions that have been put out by IOCO itself as outrageous and designed to keep him in custody regardless of the court order. And this is what the next steps of his lawyers will be.
Second was the issues around stigma and discrimination. The way in which the information was kept out there, it wasn't so clear whether some of those who did not get into the security services were actually not admitted because of, in fact, the full reasons for they not being recruited or being admitted wasn't very clear. But the Ghana AIDS Commission makes it the Ghana AIDS Commission Act actually makes it very clear that HIV status should not be the sole basis for denying people employment, irrespective of which employment. The Act itself recognizes that, different jobs or different areas of work would require different, basically different levels of fitness. And so the true test for us should be about medical fitness to work and not merely the HIV status of the applicant. So that was the second sort of concern that we sought to raise. And then the third one, we wanted to use that opportunity to emphasize some of the key tenets of the testing protocol in the country, that every testing, the people that are being tested, their consent is very key. It needs to be secured. The data needs to be kept confidentially, and their HIV status not disclosed to any other person. In fact, in this particular situation, the way in which it was communicated, in a way, actually buttresses some of those points. The fact that it was aggregate figures that came out, and the fact that a hotline was provided so that people could call and get additional information if they needed counseling and so on. What wasn't clear is, but I think these are sort of standard protocols in terms of the consent before even taking the sample. So the applicants would know or should know that, they were doing the HIV test. It shouldn't come as a surprise to them. And also linked to that, so that whole issue around the protocol, because one of the key things is that a single HIV test cannot determine if someone is positive or negative. It may turn out to be reactive, but the standard test in the country is a 3-test algorithm. If the first reactive test is positive, then you have to go to the next stage to confirm, and then a further third stage to validate. So if you haven't completed all these 3 steps, you can't really confirm or conclude that someone is HIV positive, and you shouldn't use that as a basis for your decision. And so, of course, what came out, it wasn't clear to us if these were followed. Of course, being a government agency also, we are in touch with the Interior Ministry, trying to work out the details and trying to really understand, because within the context of how the information came out, perhaps it was a bit difficult because he was responding to a specific question. The minister was responding to a specific question when he gave out that information. So there definitely will be more details, which we are working to now come to those details. Right, so these were really the 3 key issues that we wanted to bring out.
Right. You make the point that it wasn't really clear if the steps were followed, the 3 steps that you talk about were followed. After that comment yesterday, or the answer given by the Interior Minister to a question asked of him yesterday, has the Commission done any follow-ups to find out if indeed the 3 steps were followed before there's applicants who tested positive? And then also, you can understand the reaction that greeted this statement, right, from the Interior Minister regarding not just persons, but applicants who sought to get into the security agencies. So you can understand why that reaction would come within that context, is it not?
Exactly, and the risk of that fueling the stigma around HIV. We are already in a context where the data tells us that over 70% of Ghanaians have non-accepting attitudes towards persons living with HIV. That's data from the 2022 Ghana Demographic and Health Survey. And so within such a high stigma, HIV-related stigma environment, every communication has to be quite sensitive. So if you put out this information, first is the element of self-stigma. So if I were among the applicants that were not recruited and who were asked to follow up, and I hear this information in the news, the first thing would be, oh, could it be that I also have HIV? We don't know yet whether, as I mentioned, each applicant went through the 3-test algorithm, but even if they did, there should be a way in which they receive this. Because knowing your HIV status is not a simple decision, because this is a condition that if confirmed, you are going to live with HIV. For now, we don't have a cure or vaccine. So for now, it's lifelong. There are medications, you'll be healthy, you'll be okay, but the burden of taking medications every day and dealing with stigma and so on is still heavy. And so these are not decisions that should be taken lightly. So as I mentioned, that's the first element, self-stigma. How will people handle it themselves? Then the second one is the external stigma. So if I had a friend, a relative, and so on, who went for this recruitment exercise and wasn't taken, and then I hear in the news this information is put out there, I would immediately begin to wonder, okay, could it be that maybe it is because of maybe the person has HIV and that is why they were left out. So, there were a few gray areas that didn't come out very clearly.
Okay.
And as I mentioned, the law is clear that HIV should not be the sole basis.
I see, but Ms. Mama, the Interior Ministry has indicated that they're going to do some follow-ups, right, to communicate, as you indicated, how the results are going to be communicated and so on. All these concerns that you've raised, as legitimate as they are, that they said they're going to find ways of providing counseling, the process to at least communicate the results of this outcome to the applicants. Are you going to, as a commission, also lend some support to the process? Because that's the Interior Ministry. You are clothed with the expertise to do this. So what happens from today onwards between you and the Interior Ministry regarding how these applicants will even get to know that, look, I am HIV positive?
Well, already we have begun some engagement at the leadership level so that we ensure that all the protocols are followed, and of course closely with Ghana Health Service and with the National AIDS Control Program, so that yes, the Commission is really already taking the proactive steps since yesterday, engaging the leadership of the Interior Ministry in this direction, so that we can assuage the fears that are out there and also the concerns, and not just coming from the Ghana AIDS Commission, but the broader community that we work with, even including the networks of persons living with HIV who have also issued a statement, expressing concerns about stigma and so on.
And maybe quickly, before I let you go, the persons living with HIV, whom you just referenced, they have also put out concerns about the shortage of antiretrovirals and then also the HIV test kits as well. Is the Commission aware of this? What are you doing to address the concerns of a looming shortage of antiretrovirals and then the test kits as they put out 2 days ago?
Well, so really the stock levels at the national level for the test kits and the ARVs, the main concern is that the stock level has gone below the threshold that usually we try to maintain at least a 6 months level of stock. And so once it drops below the 6-month level of stock, we begin to raise the alarm, especially when we look at the distribution across regions and notice that there are some places where stock levels are really low and other places. But anyway, generally with the Ghana Health Service, Ministry of Health, NACP, there are already measures being put in place. We are aware that 2 weeks ago, the AIDS Control Program put in a request to the ministry for emergency procurement of additional commodities so that we'll avert any stock and any stock outs. And the indications we have is that within the next month we should be receiving
method at decongesting the prisons, and to make sure that persons who are on remand and justice is not meted out to them, they would take them through the justice delivery system and make sure that where the burden is not met by prosecution, they should be taken off remand in order to decongest and also to serve that picture. Also, this is also coming to play a role that when it comes to misdemeanors, and all of that. We don't necessarily need to put them in there to cause the congestion, but the the criminal jurisprudence would further be enhanced by this bill, and when passed, act so that persons will not necessarily be committed to such custodial sentences, but there will be an expanded room for sentencing where persons will be committing their service in communities while serving their sentences to the state, and after that they will be reintegrated into society to be better persons for all of us.
Christian Mamhesi is private legal practitioner. Thank you for your thoughts here on Ghana Tonight. But coming up next,
when they in some course of political airline, so if Hanan Wahab, Assisiana, so I am a lawyer, so in some or can emphasize is a court na Arufukino say, yes, see the Nadia, a beman Akobabia, Yaribia or Yaribiano, a Bashan or Ghana, a behind Ghana. We just unsubscribe and unsubscribe. No, I share, am I? It's about political airline, so NPP, Abadum, Damas.